He's prioritizing, once again, the interest of mega corporations, giants, companies and CEOs, and it is this quintessential neoliberal philosophy of looking at solutions. It has to be market driven. We need to protect the markets, and the market efficiency will guide us out of everything. I mean, I think that's just the philosophy and the world and education that he came out of. And there's a lot of other leaders in positions of power who also fall in the same category. But we all know that everything is about finding a new economy that retains value for the poorest people in our communities. That is real economic development.
So one of the things that Ron mentions in the interview that I think is really important is that Cuomo comes from a group of Democrats that believe the market is the moral arbiter of everything. And, this is obviously the Clinton wing. This is the neoliberals. This is the neoliberal rot. This is why they chose to privatize everything. This is why they choose to place big corporate donors over the wants of the working class and a whole host of other things. And call me a cynic, but this should not be shocking to anybody. Cuomo has a long history of corruption. And I wanted to bring to your attention a couple of past things that he's been involved with that I think should have been grounds for resignation when they happened, and they weren't. He continued to have a political career after this. The first thing is the Moreland Commission. If folks don't know what that is, I'm going back to 2010 to 2013 now. So he wanted to clean up corruption. He campaigned on that, right? So he created this special commission of investigators to root out corruption in Albany, and this was known as the Moreland Commission. And the idea was this was going to be this completely independent body that was going to be free of his touch, free of anybody in politics touch, and that they would be given free reign to find the money trails and to get the corruptions out of the New York state government. But that's not what happened. So what happened was, turns out that they started investigating a situation that had to do with campaign finance laws, and they issued a subpoena to a firm that had placed millions of dollars worth of advertisement for the state Democratic Party. In one of the things, the connection was they had run Andrew Cuomo's campaign for governor. So there was a tie there between him and this organization that they were investigating for campaign finance breaking. So within a year, what does Cuomo do? He dismantles the Moreland Commission. Poof, gone. So that is how he dealt with that. I think another really salient example is the Buffalo Billion. These are things that people in the state of New York knew about, but I don't know that they got much attention outside of the state. So he had lost the western part of New York in the 2010 election, and in response, he came up with this economic package that he called the Buffalo Billion. And it was a real estate development. It was money to upgrade the waterfront parks, take care of factories, medical, technical facilities. It was sort of an economic revitalization. But it turns out that there was, of course, corruption involved with that. The founder of a company called SUNY Polytechnic Institute came into the crosshairs of federal prosecutors because he earned an $800,000 state salary. He drove a Ferrari with the license plate Dr. Nana, which is kind of hilarious. And repeatedly boasted about his wealth. He was later sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for his role in bid rigging scheme that had everything to do with Cuomo's allies and the Buffalo Billions. So point being is that Andrew is a corrupt guy. He has been corrupt for a long time, and the situation with the nursing homes is sort of on brand for him as far as I'm concerned. And let's talk now about something that has been a newer allegation, though, that I think is going to be the nail in his coffin, and that's obviously the allegations of sexual harassment, and now one that I would consider to be sexual assault. So yesterday, the news broke that another aide has now accused him of groping. He groped her inside the executive mansion, inside her blouse, fondled her breasts. She did not come forward with this. Another aide did. Apparently, when they were watching the press conference in which Andrew was basically saying that he had never touched any women inappropriately, and he described his behavior as playful and misinterpreted. Well, this upset her deeply because she knew otherwise, and so she felt compelled to tell her story to another aide who has now come forth and talk about it. So we don't know her name. That hasn't been disclosed yet. Hopefully, she'll be protected when her name does come out, because often the victims of sexual harassment aren't protected. And so now we're up to 6 women. And I'll tell you right now that there's probably more. Generally, men that engage in this type of behavior, whether it's sexual assault or harassment, do so wildly. You know, it may not be the majority of the male population. In fact, we know it's not. It's generally, 3-4% that do? But the ones that do it repeatedly. So this is why when you see 1 or 2 women come out with a story, there's generally a bunch that follow suit. So who knows where this is going to end up going. I wanted to discuss, though, some of the rank hypocrisy that we have seen surrounding this, because it's unbelievable to me that the Democratic Party wants to protect its own in this environment when Republicans do the same exact types of behavior, they go full gusto against them. Sexual harassment and sexual assault should not be politicized. You're weaponizing something now. We should be against this across the board. It's wrong when Trump says things like grab him by the It's wrong when Trump does sexual harassment. It's also wrong when Al Franken does it, and it's certainly also wrong when Andrew Cuomo does. We need to be married to our principles, not a political party and not a candidate. So when we're married to our principles, then we know it's wrong across the board. We're not finding ourselves playing, this political game of whether or not the guy was a Democrat or Republican. It's just flat out wrong. The other thing that I see going on that I find really appalling is the slut shaming. It's appalling to me that you would look at any woman and say, well, she deserved it. Really? Or that the timing might be off. She's making it up because it's politically inconvenient. This is all just absolutely garbage things to say about a woman. If you are slut shaming a woman, talking about her dress, her appearance, or saying that she did something to deserve this, this is just holding up a patriarchal viewpoint of women, in my opinion. You're judging a woman through a patriarchal lens, and that is the exact opposite of feminism. You can't have it both ways. When's the last time you saw some male guy that's been accused of stealing a car, in his defense, in his defense against the victim, say, well, the victim bounced a check 12 years ago, as if that makes it okay. You only see this when it comes to women and sexual harassment and assault. And we need to change the discourse in this country if we're going to change what happens and what surrounds us. So on that note, I wanted to talk about one that really has me upset, and that's Kristen Gillibrand. She was a big part of the Me Too movement. She went full bore against Al Franken. She went full bore against Brett Kavanaugh. Those guys deserved that. I'm not angry that she did that. I'm with her on that. What I'm angry at now is the way she's handling the allegations against Andrew Cuomo. So I wanted to turn to some of the comments that she made over the past few days in regards to the situation in a Yahoo interview. One of the things she said was asking every female elected in our state when a person should when a person should resign or not really isn't the conversation we should be having. But it is the conversation we should be having. You're basically having a tepid response to him simply because he's a Democrat. How is this acceptable? It's absolutely not. Then she went on to say, and I have to say it's exceedingly frustrating because so many men who are also in public leadership aren't asked these questions day to day. The women in our state are not meant to be judges, jurors, and executioners. Look, it's true that the men aren't asked, and she's right about that, and maybe they should be as well. But I also don't think it's fair for a woman that has been at the forefront of the Me Too movement to not be outspoken across the board on issues of sexual harassment and assault. Either this is a problem or it's not. It's really that simple. So if you're going to politicize this, weaponize it because of party politics, you're not committed to principles and you're a hypocrite. It's really that simple. So that's my 2 cents on that situation. I think we might be hearing from more women in the near future. So this is sort of going to be an ongoing story. Andrew Cuomo has made no apologies in regards to this specifically. I don't think he is going to resign on his own. It might take some more pushing.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.